Hey everybody, thank you for joining us on the FareCompare weekly video podcast, episode number 46. Today we're going to chat a little bit about a couple interesting articles out over the last week and a half or so. One is related to the Department of Transportation, the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. Sounds pretty ominous, right? Well, it's not so ominous. The 6-year low for airfare prices, we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll also talk about an article that we did for ABC News about, we're always talking about places we shouldn't go. I always thought it'd be interesting to do the reverse and see if any other countries are warning people about the U.S. We'll also talk about our event of the week, heading to Spain, so that should be good as well. And we'll also take a question from a customer. Let me introduce our editor from the site here at FareCompare.com, Ann McDermott. Hey, Ann.
Hey, Rick. Well, we're also going to talk about an airfare hike that you discovered.
I forgot about the airfare hike attempt as well, so we'll throw that in there. I know we were just talking about the headline should be prices down, airlines hiking. What's new, right?
Exactly.
So a couple different things. The Bureau of Transportation Statistics, that very odd agency that throws out a report every quarter, looked back at the data is actually about 6 months old, so it's not really about summertime travel or for holiday season or anything like that, but it shows some interesting numbers with some pretty serious drops compared to the data that they had back, I think, all the way to 2010. Now, this particular data set comes from what's called a 10% ticket sample. So every ticket with ending in the number 0 is supposedly sent. I've looked at the data many times. I see all sorts of weird, wonderful things in there from the airlines. But it does show, sort of the winners and the loser cities, and it's certainly a decent sample size. I wish the sample size was much larger, but that's for another discussion another day. The question is, why are prices down? So a couple things. Certainly, I was looking today, I think oil was down to about $40 a barrel. Certainly, that's part of it. Finally, after having sort of prolonged, I guess it got all the way down to 30, I guess a little over a year ago. So we're having prolonged lower fuel prices. That's helping airlines drop prices to some degree. They're also helping consumers because they're not paying as much at the pump. They have some extra money in their wallet. I was listening to a few of the airlines' conference calls. I think they believe they have too much capacity in the system. That means some empty middle seats out there where there might be some discounting. We also saw some not so great news on the economic front with revised numbers of GDP just over 1%. That could be putting some pressure on demand. Also would increase capacity, low demand, low fuel costs. That should be lower ticket prices.
You mentioned capacity cutting, which means, goodbye to those empty middle seats. I just got to ask, don't you miss those days when you could spread out on a plane?
I do, and I just, I just don't know where those seats are anymore. And I've been on several flights this year so far, and it's elbow to elbow. So I just don't know where those flights are anymore, and I do miss that, to be honest. Used to you could sort of depend on it. Now you have to sort of pay extra to get not so much side by side, but a little extra room for your knees. In some cases, on many of the U.S. airlines. So on the flip side of this, we have prices dropping. We've talked about the magic date in previous video podcast of August the 23rd. But over the weekend, actually started, I think, Thursday or so, JetBlue bumped up their prices a little bit, followed suit by the 4 airlines that control 80% of traffic, Southwest, American, Delta, and United. So we had a little bump in airfare. Also, Hawaii was included in that one, which sometimes we don't see Hawaii with prices about $2 higher each way, and then in the case of Hawaii, $4 each way. So certainly what that does is it sort of raises the overall base price point across everybody that flies, as opposed to, for example, a particular flight that doesn't have inventory that's or advanced purchases relatively low, where you see super high prices. So in the midst of lower prices, you see an attempt at higher prices. You can see how wacky, complicated airfare can be. I know people don't see the insider stuff that I do, but you do see it when you go out and shop, and you see some days really cheap, some days really expensive, and then you feel like the same price you were at looking for last year is not the same. And there's all sorts of craziness going on, and with Zika concerns in South Florida, and even maybe going up even further north into the southeast and maybe across all the Gulf states. You already have hurricane jitters for the Caribbean. We've seen what's been going on with the Olympics and Zika virus, and athletes, some of them at least not going, and coaches and whatnot. So there's a lot of crazy upheaval going on. The terrorist events in Europe, in France, and Belgium, and a variety of other places, Germany as well. So a lot of craziness going on in travel. I'm not sure where it's going to all settle out, but hopefully we'll have some calm for a month or two, and we'll see where these prices settle out.
Okay, so this hike is not particularly painful. It's going to cost people like from $4 to $8 round trip, and for most people it's only going to be the $4 round trip. But so why are they doing it?
They always do it. They're trying to probe all the time to raise the base rates across the board, which is different than each individual flight getting higher or lower fares. I will caution people on some of these when you see these things that are dropping. This is more for business travelers who buy their tickets at the relatively last minute. Somebody that's buying $1,000 ticket, their tickets that last year was $1,000, this year it's $970 or so. It's leisure travelers paying $250 or $300. Let's say it's $250. The price drop would be only about $5 or $6, so it wouldn't get the full 6%. So it's mostly being accumulated by business travelers, but still, this is good news. I mean, the 2010 was right rolling out of the recession, and the prices were on their way up. So this is relatively good news for consumers. I think the bad news is that it probably means the economy is a little bit softer, and that's something to worry about overall. Because if demand drops for these things, that's when you'll see the airlines start to continue to cut back capacity to try to make sure that they can keep the ticket prices up. If they cut capacity and keep these hikes going, that's exactly what they're trying to do.
As you've pointed out, other countries, or rather our own U.S. State Department is always warning travelers, and these are useful warnings. They're not trying to scare anybody particularly.
And these are very informational. I love those. I love the information on the State Department website. Tell
you about safety and maybe scams to watch out for, and just how to get in contact with people that help. But they also tell you about like I've seen things about drivers in this country are not very good, and you might want to be alert to that. But so we've always wondered, what do other countries say about us? And now we know.
Yeah, I thought it was sort of funny. The first one up was Australia, warning about how the crime rates in the United States are much higher than Australia, founded as a penal colony, I might add. So I just thought it was a little bit funny that they did that. And by the way, it's true. I mean, some of these countries have very restrictive gun laws, or their populations are low, and certain areas of the U.S. I mean, just like other places in Europe that you don't want to go into, you certainly probably don't want to go to in the United States as well.
Yeah, and they also warn Australians. I don't know what the drinking age is in Australia, but they make it very clear that you have to be 21 in a lot of places in the U.S., and they also warn about laws that appear harsh by Australian standards, such as getting ticketed for jaywalking. So, it makes us sound. That's not the United States I know very much, but you never know where they're going to be.
Yeah, it was interesting that, like the Italians have noted the brush fires in Southern California. I mean, these are pretty, up to the minute sort of issues that we see. Canada as well, with a variety of issues. UK. So you might want to catch that on ABC News and take a look at what other people are saying about our country when we chat about going to their country. For the most part, and I think we're on the positive side. I mean, I think I've been to Europe close, somewhere around 4 dozen times, in other parts of the world. So, but I do love the State Department website. I check it out before I go every time because it's fairly up to date.
Okay, and now we have a question, and this is from somebody in New York, a man named Sung. He says, I'm planning on visiting family for a conference around Christmas and New Year's holiday, and this is going to be in Kansas City. And he says, because it's around that holiday period, he knows airfare is expensive, but he is very flexible. And he says he could leave before Christmas, on Christmas Day, or after Christmas, and he wants to stay until the first couple of weeks in January. So when should he fly from New York to Kansas City if he's that flexible for the Christmas holidays?
Yeah, so well, first of all, the definition of Christmas, our Christmas, is a little bit different than airlines' definition of Christmas. The holiday starts about the third week in December and goes all the way till sort of the first weekend and a few days after into the new year. That's the Christmas holiday for airlines, where they know they can raise rates pretty dramatically. In general, you want to shop for domestic airfare about 3 months out and not buy it any later than about 30 days out, because once you get inside 30 days, you're playing right into the airline's hands. Plus, you're missing out on potential 30-day advance purchase airfare, which can be cheaper. As far as that's concerned, Nan, do you know what day Christmas follows on this year? I didn't actually take a look here.
Let me check real quick.
I'm looking right here.
I know it's the 25th.
Yeah, it falls on a Sunday. So so that's actually one of the busiest days. So the day of, well, Sunday historically is a busy travel day, except when lands on Christmas Day. So the day of the holiday typically is cheaper. I would expect the day of the holiday this time to be cheaper, even though it's on a Sunday. That means January 1st are on those days, and the New Year's Day leading up to it is historically about the third cheapest day. So you're going to be looking for a Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Saturday in this case because of the Sunday, in that order, sort of leading into and afterwards. Now, he said he could come back later in January, so that's going to help out. Come back on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Saturday, second week in January. You'll get at least half the benefit. The way airfare pricing works is you get half the more expensive price if you're doing it on an expensive day during the Christmas holiday season. But if you're returning back a couple weeks later, you get that half of that cheaper price as well. So you need to be shopping right now for the holiday season. It's okay to shop earlier than 3 months in this particular case because there's not a lot of discounting going on. Now, I might shop a little bit later because of that mid-January. The sales we've seen for Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, some of them sort of end right there, sort of the first week in January, and they don't include that second and third week in January. Some do, some don't. So I might wait a couple more weeks before I actually finished up my shopping there. But you should be able to find a fairly decent price. I'm going to, looking back historically, you're looking at during the Christmas time about a 40% increase of what you'd normally see, and then that second week in January, actually a 25% decrease off of those typical rates. So I think, again, planning that way, you'll be able to shop in about, I would buy my ticket in the next 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks sort of maximum, and make sure you get that New Year's, after New Year's return ticket.
I'm going to anticipate a question that I know some of our viewers have got to be asking. What about Thanksgiving? Should they be shopping for that now?
Yeah, no, it's okay to shop for Thanksgiving right now. I mean, we're sitting here in early August. You've got, 3.5, 4 months. It's okay to shop. In fact, this is the one thing that breaks the rule. If you're going, well, we can talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. Historically, the 2 busiest days of the year for travel, the Wednesday before and the Thursday after Thanksgiving. So, did I say Thursday? No, the Wednesday before and the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Right. With Thursday being the cheapest, the day of, and for early morning people that don't have to fly more than a couple hours, it's a good option. Still there for football and food and a variety of other nice activities. But so typically the Tuesday, Saturday is a better itinerary. Sometimes Tuesday returning. Tuesday is also a good itinerary. Monday can be pretty expensive coming back as well as people extend the holiday. So yeah, but you should be shopping now. Unfortunately, a lot of the fares we're seeing that are sale fares, and they specifically exclude the Thanksgiving holiday season. So it's okay to shop for that. Inventory will get light. So I definitely would buy my Thanksgiving ticket within the next 6 or 7 weeks.
Ooh, okay. And if anybody else has a question for Rick, please send it to customer.service@farecompare.com, and he will help you out. Yeah,
sign up for alerts on our site. That's a great way to stay informed on what the prices look like around the dates there. I noticed we have our event of the week. We're heading off to Spain, which is I just went there, I guess last summer. Unfortunately, I wasn't in the right date range because this is a September date and help me with the pronunciation. My Spanish is not great. La Merced, or is that
La
right?
Merced is what I'm hearing, and this is a festival in Barcelona, and it's a huge deal. This year it's going to be September 22nd through the 25th. You have not been to this, I take it.
No, I have not. I haven't been during that time frame, but I certainly would love to. And I'm looking at the pictures and looking at the festival and looking at the cathedral and some of the landmarks. Pretty awesome. I did stay there on Barcelona Beach a couple of years ago, and I had a really great time. One of my favorite restaurants in the world, right there in the beach area there. So check it out, and check out our blog, the Adventurous blog, also the Native app. You can download on both the Google Play Store and iOS. I think we added another 5 or 6 destinations in the past week. I was checking that out as well. All of them have been updated, and you can always pull airfare for that. Also, I'd like folks to try a new thing that we just rolled out. We've rolled out a newer version of our Maps application, so go to FareCompare.com/maps. It's only a 4-letter word. I'm sure you'll be able to spell it better than I can say it.
It's really good. It's really good.
Check that out. You can go during certain months. You can check out certain destinations. Fun little tool. I was actually checking out some golf destinations for the fall. Tucson and Phoenix being a couple of areas I'd love to get away for the weekend and with the guys with a couple of days of golf. So check that out, and we'll catch you on the next video podcast. I believe that will be number 47. So we'll catch you next week.
Thank you.